Today's learning resource is brought to you by three partners: Youth Enterprise Development Fund, KCA University, and the University of Nottingham, under the co-production for youth entrepreneurship in Kenya, COPEC project, supported by the British Council.
Welcome viewers, my name is Maurice Ondiek from the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Today we are going to discuss about business registration and licensing. All businesses are regulated in a modern and disciplined society. Businesses, just like citizens, need to be registered to enable the government plan for development. Our part as entrepreneurs is to ensure compliance where licenses are required and where we are also required to register businesses. What are the benefits of registering a business? The businesses obtain legal status separate from the owner. This enables business to be identified by other stakeholders in the industry. In our society, people are called by their names, and therefore businesses, once registered, are also now given a legitimate name that other parties can be able to identify it with. A business name or a registration is able also to differentiate one business entity from another. One of the things that most of the entrepreneurs usually ask is, what is the process of registering a business? And in business registration, the first process is identifying a business name. This is where the entrepreneur has an opportunity to decide how he wants to call his business or how he would wish people to identify his business. A business name is the first opportunity to communicate your enterprise agenda or strategy. You may want to look big. For example, you can use a name that communicates the spread of territory. For example, you may want to call yourself East Africa 123, East Africa or South Rift or Coast, a name that would show your territorial spread. You can also use a name to communicate the product in the line which you operate. For example, you could call yourself Bahari Waters. This communicates that the business is a water manufacturing company. You can also use a name to communicate the target market. Example, you can say XYZ Community Hospital. It communicates your interest in society. Once the name is identified, it is always subjected to screening by the Office of Attorney General. This is to ensure that the business name, one, does not belong to another existing enterprise. And secondly, also, to ensure that the name is not offensive to the society. There are names you can pick and actually offend the public. A name like Kifo, maybe you can say Kifo Bread Makers. I don't think people would be happy to eat a bread called Kifo. Or you can call yourself Al-Shabaab Distributors. That is a name that the Attorney General would not process for registration. Once you have picked a name, decide also on what type of business you want to own. Business ownership can be categorized into four, which one is sole proprietorship, two is partnership, three is private limited company, and four is public limited company. Each has its own advantage and disadvantages. Let's look at the sole proprietor. Here, the business owner and the business are one and the same thing. The owner is registered as trading as. For example, my name is Maurice Ondiek. I may prefer trading as East Africa Enterprise Consulting Experts. That is a business name, but the registration shows that Maurice Ondiek is trading as. the enterprise, East African enterprise. So East African is Morris, and Morris is East Africa enterprise. That is what it means to be a sole proprietor. And the advantage in this business is that it is easier, or there are quick decisions making process, because I'm alone. I do not have to consult. However, it has also its disadvantage. A major one is unlimited liability. When we talk about liability, we are referring to a scenario where, in case there is a challenge in the debt obligations, for example, the business may have borrowed a bank loan or from any other source, and it is unable to meet its financial obligations and repay the loan. Those who have financed the business are allowed not only to seize the business properties, but also the properties belonging to the owner. That liability is not only limited to the business, but extends to the owner. Remember, we said in sole proprietor, the owner is the business and the business is the owner. The second one is the partnership. In partnership, just like a sole proprietor, the partners come together and register an enterprise. In this arrangement, the partners are the business and the business is the partners. Again, unless stated clearly, they have unlimited liability. But we do also have partnerships that have registered for limited liability. We shall come to that later. We know the advantages of partnership is that members have pulled together resources and therefore they have a bigger capital base. But the disadvantage again is the decision making. We may differ as partners when making decisions. We may not agree on issues, and at sometimes our separation may also, the exit of one or two partners may lead to the death of the partnership. We have the private limited companies. Just like the word states, it shows restriction in ownership. The private restricts the number of people. That is, it is not meant for the public. It is an arrangement by private members to own a limited company. And therefore, when it comes to a private limited company, the people coming together are coming together as shareholders. In this arrangement, we do not look at the amount of money brought in, because that money is converted into shares. Why we look at it that way is because whatever you bring, as we start a company, one of us may bring a motor vehicle, let's say equivalent to 100,000. The other member may bring cash of 100,000. The other member may also bring land equivalent to 100,000. At the time of registration, we all brought items of the same value. But 10 years after, if we say everybody picks what they brought and go with it, then it would be unfair, because the person who brought land has appreciated. The person who brought cash, the value of that cash has depreciated. The person who brought the vehicle, the value of the vehicle has depreciated. So when these members come together, we equate what they have brought to shares. And if the three of them had brought an equivalent, we could, supposing we have 1,000 shares, we would give each of them 333.50 shares. That is how a private limited company operates. It has its advantage. It's the most preferred, because here the liability of the shareholders is limited to the extent of their share contribution. If we started a company, and in that company we have assets, we have a building, we have a car, and any other thing that the business owns, because a private limited company is a person created by law, unique from the owners. Therefore, in case of default of financial obligations, they can only seize what belongs to the company and not what belongs to the directors. Now, once you have identified the type of business you want, you can now go ahead and register. Most Kenyans usually ask, how do I register a business? You have identified a business name. You have identified the type of business you want to own. I'll speak about the simple business registration process, which is that of a sole proprietor. This one can do it in the comfort of wherever they are, using their phones. You can use a phone, you can use a laptop, or you can have someone who can show you, maybe in a cyber, how to go about the process. What is required? One, the applicant is required to operate or own an eCitizen account. This one you can open if you have an ID or if you have an email address and you are a Kenyan citizen. So once you open an email account, you then go to the business registration portal in the dashboard. When you open an eCitizen account, there are various services of government in the eCitizen portal. We have the identification for the civil registration. We have driving license. We have services like now the business registration. So amongst all this, you pick on the business registration portal and then choose register a business. Once you have done that, you will be required to input at least 5 names, because remember we said the AG will consider a name of a business that is not already in existence. And therefore, you'll decide to pick 5 so that if one does not go through, they have an option of allocating you the other one, or even the next and the next, up to when they'll find a name that is available for you. So you'll input 5 names. Then give address of the business, both physical and postal. If you have a postal address, you will indicate. The physical address will indicate the land where the business will operate. Usually they want the registration done in the name of the land parcel number. Or the building. If there's a known building, you'll give the building, the street, and the floor. Then you'll also be required to upload documents. You'll be required to upload an ID, a PIN, that is a personal identification number for the tax certificate, then a passport photo, which you can just take a selfie with your phone. Once you have uploaded the documents, then you are required to make payments through a mobile phone platform, which can be M-Pesa, Airtel Money, or any other platform, in a pay bill provided in that portal. Once you have done that, you'll be required now to submit those documents with the payments, and after 2 or 3 days, you'll open your eCitizen account and you'll get feedback from the Attorney General's office, either your business is registered or you are required to amend. Now, once that is done, you want to start a business, there are also other regulatory bodies that we must comply with. Upon registering a business, it's not a guarantee now to operate a business. You have to operate within the other regulations. For example, in the county setup, the county government requires you to obtain a single business permit. This is an annual renewable authorization to operate within that county. And it depends on the type of business. I know the range is between 5,000 to 20, depending on which industry. Then, if you are in the hospitality industry, or where you are serving people, food handling and all that, you will require to have public health certification. Public health for the enterprise, and also public health for those offering those services. So those are regulations as a business person you must adhere with. Then, for those in the entertainment industry or mining, where there is noise, you will also be required to obtain authorization from National Environment Management Authority, NEMA. Again, for those in the entertainment industry, as you play people's music, you will also require permits from Kekobo for copyrights of musicians. And then Those intending to go into construction business, beyond just registration, you will also be required to register as a contractor with the National Construction Authority. There are different classes from the lowest, which is 8 to 1. Whichever class you pick, there are requirements for each class. There are payments for each class, each category. And once you get the authorization, you can start a business. We hope that you are able to register a business, you are able to comply with government regulations and all other bodies that regulate enterprises, so that you avoid scenarios where you start a business today, tomorrow you are facing challenges or you are thrown out of business because of non-compliance. Thank you very much, and I wish you success as you register your business.